Kia ora. Well, it's 3 years since I purchased these two tanks, and at that time I had my first go at making a YouTube video, which was a comparison of the two, as both had very similar specs. I concluded that they were both quality tanks, well suited to a variety of uses, and in particular they would be ideal for those entering the hobby. Now, when it came to acquiring a third tank, I chose not to get the Fluval. The main reason being was the thickness of its glass. I thought that the actual glass was too thin and that the joint did not give me a great deal of confidence in its strength and durability, especially compared with the Aqua One's thicker glass and seamless construction. But hey, 3 years have passed and I'm still using it, so it certainly proved itself to be durable. If you follow the Fluval forum or search online, you'll find a large number of people that have had glass crack on them or seams parting. And you'll be forgiven for thinking that this is a very fragile tank, but you need to put it into perspective. Fluval is a big name. They produce a lot of these tanks, they have a big market. So the actual number that do fail is probably a very small proportion and no more than any other manufacturer. The key thing is to treat it with respect, and that means ensuring that you do use the rubber mat that was provided with the tank, and in my case I'll put on a piece of wood, which means if I want to relocate it in the house I can drain the tank, remove any substrate and just shift everything across to the new location, thereby minimising any stress. You should also be aware of children with hammers, and when decorating it, just take care with those heavy rocks that you don't chip the glass. Now, when I do water changes, I tend to rest the bucket on the lip of the glass and use a free hand to break the force of the water, but I certainly wouldn't do that with my flex. Another concern was that the inlet grill would not keep small fish out of the filter system, so I used a piece of foam. Later models of the tank did include a better grill. I found the filter system itself to be very efficient, and it was surprising just how much media you could put in there. I've used a combination of scoria, pumice, ceramic noodles and various sponges. Now, of course, the bacterial loading would be proportionate to the fish stocking level, but this large capacity does mean that your tank is very forgiving if you do overstock. One niggle that I had was that the pump outflow could not be controlled and was too powerful for some of the fish that I stocked. I fixed this by using a couple small cubes of foam which I inserted over each of the nozzles. Now, if by chance the flow was not strong enough, then it's important to check inside the actual pump, as it has a foam filter which can clog up over time. My particular pump was very noisy and I couldn't find a way to dampen the sound, so I just put up with it. But in the last month or so I did swap it out with a pump which had an adjustable flow, and that has been giving very quiet running. When working on the tank, I'd normally just move the lid to one side, although for a while I was using a small branch to prop it open, and then I found this quite handy strut. It was used to hold together a tripod for my tomato plants. It works a treat. Pity about the tomatoes. As for the lighting, I tend to use low light plants, and the lighting output was fully adequate for this. Now, I am aware that some users have had their light units fail on them outside of the manufacturer's warranty. In New Zealand, we're quite lucky. We have a piece of legislation called the Consumer Guarantees Act, which basically means that a product should perform for a reasonable period of time, regardless of what the manufacturer warranty might state. Now, I haven't needed to call on that. My light is still performing well. I don't use the actual remote. I just use the white lights as they switch on and off on a timer. I should note that the coloured lights definitely have failed. Regardless of what colour button I press, I just get a series of weak lights, and it's the same regardless of which button. Now, I understand that some users with these sorts of problems have bypassed the wiring on the receiver unit on the tank. It's low voltage, and they bypass it to allow just the white light to work, giving more life to it. As well as keeping fish in, the integrated lid does help keep the heat in. Whereas on the other tanks I've got, the heat from the light escapes into the air. Now, I did want to keep some temperate fish, such as these minnows, in my flex, but I found that even without a heater, the tank was still running 2 degrees warmer than the others in my room. So there are some disadvantages. So there you have it. 3 years on, my flex is performing as I would expect and has given me a lot of enjoyment. Thank you for watching.